Hey guys, this is going to be a PvP instructional video showing some of the games I've played recently using a 2-gate fast expand. If you're looking for the specific numbers, you can check out one of my other videos. I have a video detailing the actual build. But this is just going to be a compilation of a few games I've played in peep mode showing how to play out the transitions and opening. This video will actually include 4 games versus DT Fast Expand. These are against different people I played in peep mode just on VNet, found in different chat channels. So the level of play will not be super high, but will hopefully be helpful. This first video is actually going to be an example of what not to do. One of the tricky parts about this build is that you don't scout your opponent's base, ever. Your first scout will actually, just after your gateway, check around your natural and other likely proxy positions, looking for cannon rushes, 2 gates, any kind of cheese like that. Once it's checked right after gateway, it can just come back home and mine. Your next scout will be with your zealot, who will again check for proxies and go to the watchtower, and then once you get a zealot and stalker, you poke his front to see what his units are. Because you're not scouting his base, there's a couple things you have to do blind. One of those is get a really fast observer, and I slack on that a little bit here, and that ends up costing me a lot of workers in the early game. He does end up getting a very, very quick Twilight Council, so this is virtually as fast as DTs can hit. So this will show you pretty much how this is going to play down against an ideal DT rush. So yeah, his Dark Shrine going down at 6 minutes. That's pretty fast. Normally the Zealot would be out scouting around. He gas stole me, which is not a problem since you don't normally get your gas until you're dropping your Nexus anyway. Luckily I managed to find this proxy pylon. You have to make sure to be really active with your early stalkers around the map. Take out any proxy pylons you can find. Just keep poking around likely locations. So normally I would be doing a poke right here with these 2 stalkers, plus these 3, plus 2 more you warp in. So you actually get a total of 7 stalkers plus a zealot pretty early on in the game, around 5:45 to 6 minutes. Also your expo goes down around that 5:30. This is a little delayed because it's peep mode. Now his DT shrine is finishing pretty early in the game. That's about as early as you can get that. Normally I should have already dropped a robo. You can see I have enough for it right here. So it should have gone down right away. If you build it right on time, there it is. So it was slightly delayed there. This could have been a few seconds faster. If you build that right on time, you can have an observer out by the time his DTs hit you. I'm just a little bit slack. Also, like if I had poked around and found these proxy pylons like I was supposed to, I wouldn't have been in trouble. I do a poke here, but this is kind of late. I wouldn't recommend poking this late with these units. If you do it sooner, you can do serious damage. And in this case, I might have been able to continue pushing up because he only had 1 force field there. If I had kept pushing, he hardly had any units. Maybe could have made him warp in defensively instead of coming after this. I think, I haven't tested extensively, but I feel like it's possible versus Blink or DT rushes to actually just kill them outright with your first 7 stalkers. So you can see this robo was delayed. So unfortunately he kills pretty much all of my probes. Don't do this. And my force is also out of position. If I hadn't been poking, this would have been back a little bit sooner. Observer pops. We can kill off the DTs and try and get back into business here. He should have expanded during that. Luckily for me, like he did serious economic damage, but he should have actually already have expanded. He was just, I don't know, failing to micro his DTs, but watching them. So he should have an economic lead right now, but because I'm 1 or 2 base to his 1, I can sort of get back in this. Chrono boost probes for a while, defend with my units. The rest of this game isn't super interesting, so I'm going to speed through it a little bit because it's really just kind of, I'm at a disadvantage, but he fails to follow up on it. It shows how rare it is for PvP to get to the late game with 2 bases. I really think that this build can make a huge difference in the metagame, because people right now just have no idea how to deal with someone who gets 2 quick bases and is able to defend it. So I'm pretty much back in the game now from chrono boosting probes off 2 bases. He ends up, of course, transitioning to Archon Charge Lot, which makes sense after DTs. I'm instead going for Colossus. So I want to speed through, don't want to spend too much time on this first game, but I'll show you a couple of the big fights here. My main concern with Colossus versus Charge Lot Archon is that I frequently get this tech a little bit later than I should. I usually end up going double Robo Colossus, but there's a couple games where the Charge Lot Archon hits before they're really ready, and I feel like that can go a little better. Additionally, something that happens in a couple of these games, he gets a really good surround with these zealots coming up 2 ramps on this force. It'd be much better if I pulled back up the ramp or behind the mineral lines here to restrict the zealot surface area. I think you could hold a lot easier with a couple Colossus if just by improving the positioning. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom and show you this fight real quick. Ends up losing all his Colossus, has mostly Zealots left. Not going fantastically for me. So you see, I think I could have held there if I choked with the ram instead of letting him get in. He managed to pop one Colossus, do a little bit of fun micro here. Really should have killed that off. He could have trapped it, I think. Do manage kind of cleaning this up just because he engages so poorly on this ramp. So it's getting to hold where the Colossus does damage right in a line like that. So we'll clean that up and move on into the in-game. His third is a little bit ahead of mine, but I've got a decent force, so it's not too big of a deal. Also have an upgrade advantage. I usually try and get at least 1-1. Nope, no, right, he has 1-1 as well. Again, don't want to spend too much time on this game, but I'll show you this final push here. I really think the main things are your Robo needs to be on time, you need to start your Colossus attack a little bit sooner than I did in this game, and you should be fine against DT expand. We'll see some better timings though in these next games where I don't lose all my probes at the beginning. So here's the final push with Archon Colossus. Sorry if I jumped out of frames there. Alright, so let's move on to game number 2, and we'll look at how this works out with a little bit better time. And in this one, hopefully we'll see reacting to the DTs a little bit better. It's against the same guy, so I suspected it was coming and made sure to be on top of my Robo timings, and it helped a little bit. Speed through the early game here. He's going to do essentially the same build. Remember, always scout around with this probe, check for proxies in typical locations. I probably should check up here too on this map. And then you can come back. Usually you can actually get there just in time for the cyber and go back to mine. That little economic edge makes a big difference later on. Gas steals again, which I think is just bad build, but whatever. Same thing, he does 1 gate Twilight. I really do feel like if you're being this greedy, that with your initial like 3 to 7 stalkers, if you poke, you'll just outright kill him. Because he's spending all of his gas on his DT tank, he has hardly any sentries. Stalkers are a little bit delayed here. So I end up spending some Chrono Boost on those to make sure they're out in time for the Warp Gate. Yeah, you can see here, let's look at the units. So I have 5 Stalkers and 1 Zealot to his 1 of each, and he's just now warping units in. If you're aggressive with this, my Warp Gate's done as well, and you do a Warp Gate push with your first 5 Stalkers and then warp in at his base, your next 2 or 2 Zealots, you can absolutely rock anyone who's doing greedy fast tech like this. I think we probably could get in before this finishes. So that's something to experiment with. At least I'm being a little bit better about finding the proxy pylons. I'm going to hide one up here though anyway. Oh well. Alright, DTs get in again. And again, my robo is late, but not as late. At least my army's at home. You can definitely get this observer out by the time the DTs get there. So we'll see in a later game, but just got to make sure to be really on top of building that robo in time. This build is still very experimental, so I'm a little bit slack with sometimes. Alright, observer's out, we can clean these up. Don't lose nearly as many probes as last time. Though he's got 5 kills. Oof. And he does expand a little bit sooner this time. He's on top of that. So I get 2 observers and then just start poking around to find the proxy pylons. Kill his DTs. I am still ahead in econ. Yeah, so I killed the DTs quick enough and my base was so much ahead of his, you get it at 530, that you can have a ton more probes out. And I usually spend a lot of Chrono Boost on probes until I get saturated on both bases. He again transitions to Robo out of this, which I'm really not sure about. I think he should just spend his money on straight Archon Charge a lot. Doesn't really use the Robo anyway. So I think this engagement starts going a little slightly better. I think I'll have a Colossus out in time. My positioning is a little bit better on this one. Yep, so did a quick double robo on that one. I got both Colossus out much earlier. So I think this will go a lot better. A couple force fields. His force is crushed, and it's pretty much a good game from there. Add some gateways, and just go kill him. I think I'm waiting for, yep, 2 more Colossus to pop. We'll warp in some units. I've got a pretty huge Stalker lead plus the 4 Colossus. And that's pretty much game 2. Alright, let's go into game number 3. We're going to see a slightly more aggressive ground push style. Still with DT expand though. Alright, for game 3 we're back on Ohana, and this is a different player with a more economic style. He's not as aggressive with the DTs, he really just uses them for map control and gets up a very early Nexus. What I liked about that I got to play these games was we could compare the Nexus timings of 2-gate expand versus the DT fast expand and show how much faster this 2-gate expo can be. So again, gateway, scout around for proxies. Should really check up here too. That's a common pylon placement. I think he goes 2 gate before Twilight, so this is a little bit slower DTs, but he gets a few more units out, probably not as easy to crush early game. Be very active with those first Zealot Stalker. A little bit of funny micro here. I do end up getting a kill on the Stalker, which is kind of... Put some defensive... Okay, he had done a 3 Stalker opening into Twilight, which is not a bad build, that's more standard, I think. So my Nexus should go down around 5:30. This is peak mode again, so the timing down there is a little bit off. And again, I feel like I should be able to actually be more aggressive with these Stalkers, that against a lot of players you're just going to outright kill them with those first 5 to 7 Stalkers. But since I'm still learning the build, still kind of testing it, I tend to be a little more conservative. If they end up 4-gating you and your army's away and you miss the proxy pylon, it could be a huge pain. Alright, so he goes ahead. This is his normal expansion timing. I talked to him after the game a little bit. And you can see how much later it is than this 2-gate FE. You get a huge economic lead this way. He delays his DTs quite a bit in this one, actually, I think, because he scouted my expo. Or at least assumed it. Just active with the Stalkers, check for proxy pylons constantly while getting your tech up. You can see I got the robo much sooner this time, right after the second gas goes down. And make sure to get that observer right away. DT trend is done. He doesn't build too many DTs this game, though. He just kind of goes for the little timing attack with his Archons. Prep for a 3rd while trying to get my Colossus. So this is where I think I should be getting my Colossus tech a little bit sooner. Yeah, so it goes down there, but I think if we get people in these gas, or probes in this gas sooner, we can get the Colossus tech a lot faster. This is his push. It's not a bad timing. He does a little bit better in the second game, as we'll see, but just because my Nexus timing was so much faster, I got saturated way faster, and my army value is just 1,000 above his. There's no chance for this to do any damage. He does a little charge timing, but it's so many units. That's pretty much a good game on that one. I do want to look at a 3rd game from him because he does a much tighter timing attack there, and I actually end up dying to it. So let's take a look at that one next. So here's the final game I want to look at in this DT Fast Expand versus 2-gate series. This one is actually a little more interesting. It's the same guy again. We played another custom game, and he knew what I was doing this time. So I asked him to really put on the pressure to test the build. To see a couple things. First, how the DT timing works out properly if you get a good robo, and also how the Fast Expand timings compare. Bring that probe home once the Zealot's out. You can do your scouting. I again miss a pylon up here. I normally assume they're not going to be on the right side because it's such a long travel distance, and you normally don't do that versus Zerg on this map, but definitely PvP should check over there. There's 3-gate Stalkers opening. Go and leave that up. There's his Twilight. Little poking with my early force. So that Nexus goes down right there. It went down a little bit before 6 minutes on that one. I think I was slightly delayed. Gate finishes. My build was a little bit staggered this time. One of my stalkers got off because I think I supply blocked myself. So, again, 6 stalkers and 1 zealot. You probably could do a poke with this and do some good damage. I'm still just a little bit nervous about losing my base, especially once you do second round of warpins. It's really extreme difference. I do just go down to check and see if he's expanded, just to make sure that's what he's doing. So this time the observer timing will be just a little bit better here. Pop out right before his DT hits. Be able to clean that up without too much difficulty. Chase him down. But what we're going to see is his attack timing is pretty tight here. He's going to start moving out pretty much right at 10 minutes with 5 gates and a charge lot Archon. This is one of the few games I lost in macro mode. I've lost 1 or 2 to cheese when I wasn't paying attention, but I think this is the only game I've lost that was a macro win so far. So you can see, yeah, that's our unit list. My army is not that much smaller than his. The army values are fairly close. I'm actually a little bit ahead until he does that final warp in. But I think just my positioning was really poor. This is a game I really need to review and figure out what to do here. I'm just clumped up right here. If these stalkers were spread out with the zealots in front, and I got a couple force fields before, because the zealots are going to charge in front of the archons. If you place them in front of the zealots, the archons won't be able to break them, because they won't be able to move through the zealots until he pulls back. That saves you some time and gives you some more shots with the stalker. But as it is, he gets a really good surround with the zealots and just crushes me. This is before my double robo's ready too. Delayed this game. So as I said here, I'm kind of considering going with an Archon transition to deal with this sort of thing. Not totally sure, but I think if your Colossus are on time and you have decent position in micro, you can hold it. Just gonna have to explore those times a little bit more. So hopefully that's helpful. Gives you a little bit of overview of how to play out this Expo build. I think it can really be revolutionary for PvP, and I hope to see more people trying it on ladder.